Namaskar, Dadaji.
Namaskar, Ananta.
Great, thank you for joining me. I want to start off this video recording with a few practical questions about meditation. As a beginner, how might I engage with meditation? How do I start meditating? What are some of the basic things that I am looking for when I'm meditating or after I'm meditating? And what are a few things that I might avoid doing during meditation or after meditation to increase the quality of my practice?
Yeah, let me start with trying to tell you what we should not be looking for when we do meditation. The normal expectation people build when they do spiritual practices is that it's a practice of some kind of occult nature where people expect to have extraordinary achievements, like they should have the capacity to read the minds of others, or some people go as far as having the capacity to levitate in the air or walk on the water. They just expect to have magical qualities. On the other hand, also some people expect that meditation is going to completely turn around their life in terms of material objects, which means if they are making business losses, meditation is going to turn that into profit making. Or else if they have some problems in the life, relationship problems, and meditation is just going to turn over everything around. So I must tell that meditation is not a shortcut to achieve any or all of those. Meditation is a technique to mold our thinking pattern, which in turn may start to help in different processes of the life. But it's not like one thing you do and then you don't make any other efforts in the life. So yeah, this kind of magical expectations should not be there from the meditation. Now the other part is, what exactly is meditation then? It's a meditation is a way of, there are two basic factors what happens in meditation. It's that you are trying to build your self identity much stronger, because one of the things we suffer in our life, that we start to suffer inferiority complex, superiority complex, mostly because of our comparative thinking, that I'm always looking at myself in comparison to others. And if the other person is weaker than me, then I think that I am superior. Or if the other person is stronger than me, then I feel I'm inferior. So either one of these complexes is not good for one's self-esteem, not good for one's self-strength. So meditation is going to first start to build your own self-personality, where you start to become stronger and stronger in your thoughts, and also stronger and stronger in relation to the society. The second thing also meditation you should expect is that it's a process of de-egoification. De-egoification means that we have ego in the life. We have the sense of pride. We have the sense of prestige, have achieved something in the life. So all that ego that we develop over the time, ego of knowledge, ego of recognition in the society, all that ego you should expect to go away by doing meditation, because it's a process of making yourself humble. It's also a process of understanding, realizing the consciousness you have in yourself. And when you realize that the consciousness you have within yourself, it's also the same consciousness present in others. So therefore you'll start to eliminate this feeling of differences from people to people. So that's the kind of things you should expect from meditation. I think you're taking hard notes.
I am. I'm writing down everything you're saying. It helps me to generate further questions. So based on what you just said, I have a further question. So can meditation help me to stop suffering in my life? Like you said that it's a very gradual process and we should not have high expectations or magical expectations of meditation. But can it help me to stop my own personal suffering?
See, the concept of suffering, it's not based on what you are going through. Concept of suffering is based on how you treat yourself. So you may have a person who is absolutely lying in a very comfortable position in his or her house under an air conditioned environment, having all kinds of amenities of life, and yet be in a very pathetic situation of life.
Mhm.
Whereas there could be another person who is out in the sun and carrying the load on his shoulder and doing lots of physical work.
Mhm.
I mean, hardship in the life, but in his or her mind, one could be in the most happiness position you can ever be. So the contrast is, you see, is not because of what they are going through in the life, but it's because how they perceive that. So you find a lot of exemplary people. Take, for example, freedom fighters, those who fight for the country. There are people who take a noble cause for the humanity, they fight for it. They go through sufferings, physical sufferings, I mean. They go through a lot of pain inflicted by the society. But does that mean that they're internally suffering? No, they are not. In fact,
Mm.
the more people oppose them, it gives them more power, more energy, more inspiration to go forward because they are guided by a different kind of perception towards oneself and also towards the whole society. So it's the
Mhm.
perception which makes this suffering happen and suffering not happen. The suffering and pain are two different words. You may have pain, and in certain state of mind, you may think that pain is a pleasure. It's just the perception of the mind. So the suffering here is that how you look at everything, whereas the pain is a sensation in the nerves in your body. So the pain sometimes may have its own physical dimension that you will feel it, and it has measurable physical dimensions that we cannot deny. But as far as suffering is concerned, that's a mental phenomena, and it's totally based on how we look at it, how we treat it in our life.
So from what I understand, you're trying to explain that meditation changes our perception of suffering. So like maybe it will change the way we think about who is the person doing the suffering.
Yeah, meditation actually, as I said before, is going to embolden your understanding of yourself. So you come out much stronger, and therefore the situations you face in the life, you don't just get kind of subdued by the problems. Rather, you see them as a kind of challenges to go ahead. Rather, you see them as a kind of hurdle, as a point of inspiration for you to go forward. So, what happens is that once through meditation, once you make yourself, make your own personality much stronger, then come may what may be in the life, you always want to go forward and always not want to be stopped by any kind of physical obstacles. So this perception has the impact of whether you suffer or not, and meditation helps you develop that perception.
Hmm. Okay, so I have one further question. So I've been educated in a Buddhist background, and one of the Buddhist teachings is called Buddha nature, that within every living creature, there is a pure entity, there is a pure nature within them, that is the ability to achieve enlightenment within a lifetime. Now, let's not really talk about enlightenment because that's a very complicated topic, but from your perspective, do you think that everyone who engages in meditation has an equal ability to change themselves? Do they have an equal ground to stand on to achieve something greater in their lives?
Yeah, the consciousness lies in everyone, or we call soul, or we call Atma. this lies in every entity. Even this Atma or consciousness lies even in non-living entity. So because of the framework which has been installed on the mind has become a kind of box, and therefore it becomes very difficult for anyone to come out of that box and think of something independently. So one of the processes, there are steps in doing meditation. And one of the steps of meditation, the very first step, I mean, once you learn it, you'll know what it is. But the very first step of meditation is for you to withdraw from any and all kinds of worldly attachments where your mind gets attached. So that's your very first step. And by doing that, what you do is you bring your mind out of that box. And once the mind is brought out of that box, you'll realize that your identity is nothing but some sort of consciousness that gets lost in the crowd of the world. So once we develop better understanding of that consciousness within ourselves, we know that it's a hidden thing remained for in our life, and that we didn't realize it until through meditation I explored it deeper. So once that is found, I know, I mean, it's quite understandable that this hidden consciousness is within oneself, and also it's in everything else around me. So every object, whether it's living or non-living object, has that inherent hidden potentiality that somehow gets buried deep because of the worldly phenomena. So the potentiality remains, it's for us to take that potentiality out.
Yeah, so another thing that just sort of came to mind is like, I'm thinking about meditation now in terms of like education. Like you explained that there are steps to meditation that are devised in such a way to facilitate it and make it accessible to everyone. And like within the academic world or in the world of education, there are different subjects that different people excel at differently, such as mathematics and reading and literature and philosophical understanding. And every person has a different aptitude when it comes to those different subjects. Do you think that that's true with meditation, or if you're just not getting it, are you doing something wrong?
Well, there are few things which involves before you can call a meditation. When people concentrate on an object, they call it meditation. And the very first bell I'm going to ring is that is not meditation. Concentration is not meditation. There is more things. And then when you just sit down and close your eyes and start thinking about certain subject, even that is not meditation, because you are thinking, you are not contemplating. And there is a difference between thinking and contemplation. So for a meditation to be a complete involving process, it has to involve every bit of our rhythm of the body and rhythm of the mind. Only when all of that is engaged together, then only you can draw yourself into meditation. And how do you do that? As I said before, the first step is to withdraw your mind from that box of perceiving oneself from the physical perspective. So once you come out of that box, then you also have to be able to impose the ideation on your breathing cycle, which means when you breathe in and out, that process basically regulates how we think, how fast and how slow we think. So if you are breathing faster, your thinking is also shallow and faster. And when you breathe slower and deeper, then your thinking is also deeper. So the breathing cycle needs to be brought into the factor when we are doing meditation. So the combination of withdrawal of the mind and then using the chant of the mantra with your breathing we are creating some kind of rhythm. We are trying to synchronize the rhythm of the body and the rhythm of the mind together. And the last step is that we are trying to channelize the mind from a thinking to ideating. And that happens only by picking up some kind of non-denominational subject, a subject which cannot be denominated to any physical existence. So, and a subject which is not limited by any physical boundaries, or at least perception of the physical boundary. So, by channelizing the mind from that thinking to ideation, so all that three things together, combined turns into a meditation. Otherwise, you find many schools of meditation where they teach you to relax, they teach you to just concentrate on music or just go to sleep, or sometimes just think on some kind of physical phenomena. None of those, they may have benefits on their own. I mean, I wouldn't say that they have no benefits, because every time when you concentrate and try to do exercise with your mind, there is always some effect of that. But it's not the meditation in the real sense, because the purpose of meditation is to transcend the mind from this box, that we have this perception of one's own identity, transcend from that to a universal identity, where I feel that the consciousness within me is also the same consciousness which is in everybody else. I mean, this is theoretically said, but that has to turn into a realization through meditation.
Thank you. That's all very helpful. One last question. So you're talking about engaging our body during meditation to occupy the time of what one Buddhist master called the monkey mind, the mind that's always reaching in every different direction. And we're trying to occupy that element of our mind with mantra recitation to occupy our ears, focusing on the breathing to occupy the sense of feeling, occupying our mind by thinking of something non-denominational. What about visual? Do you have any recommendations for somebody to visualize during meditation to occupy our seeing faculty?
See, the eyes are, especially the ocular phenomena, the eyes are the most prominent kind of sensory organs, one of the most prominent in our body. So therefore, what we do during meditation is that we close the eyes and open the eyes internally, that where we start to impose a visualization which leads towards the contemplative meditation. So the external visualization stops and internal visualization starts. That's what is done, because of the eyes are very, very engaging sensory organ, and we can't let it be open, and simply mind will flow outwards if the eyes are open. Therefore, eye needs to be closed, but the internal eyes needs to be activated, where you start to use your imaginative, contemplative capacity to build your own visual periphery inside your own mind. And again, because the purpose of meditation is to turn a thinking into ideation, so that periphery has to be of indefinite nature.
Great. Wow, that's very helpful, Dada. Thank you for your advice and tactics on how to meditate. This certainly clarifies some things that I've been thinking about in my mind, and I hope that it helps clarify some things for our viewers. I think that's just about all the time that we have now. I think we're going on about 20-25 minutes now. So
that sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, we'll meet again and keep your questions regarding meditation and experience of meditation for the following sessions, and we'll go through that, because it's
Sure.
important. It's important for people to understand and know that meditation is like like a little bit of sugar that you mix in your tea or you mix in the milk, and it doesn't take any space. It doesn't bother your life. It just makes it sweeter. It makes it nicer. So that's the role of meditation, is that you could lead any kind of lifestyle, and just meditation brings a kind of nice coating on top of that. So people have to realize this effect and benefits of meditation and use that for their own benefit.
It's very nice. I think we could all use a little bit more sugar in our lives.
Right. Well, thank you, Ananta.
Thank you so much, Dada. Namaskar.
Namaskar.